Hey guys, welcome to this tutorial, and today I'm going to show you how you can be able to create an Android recyclerview that has search. For instance, we can search Michael and on click listener. If I tap, a new activity starts and displays that name of the clicked item. So this is what we are going to learn, how to implement a recyclerview that has search and on click listener. So let's get started. This is a fresh project which I'm going to use to develop or to show you how you can be able to achieve Android recyclerview that has click listener and a search view. So to get started, inside your main activity, remove the text view and add recyclerview. The width, give it full, that is match parent. The height, lab content. Then, because you are using constraint layout, you need to constrain the recyclerview. So give it a start of parent, and give it end of parent. The top, we are going to give it so that it can start the top of parent. Remember, since you are using constraint layout, the width, you can actually give it 0. The reason we give it 0 is because we are starting at the start of parent and we are finishing at the finish of parent. So I'm also going to give it an ID, and my ID I'm going to call it LV users. Remember, a recyclerview requires data. So the next thing that I'm going to create is UserModel. So I'm going to have UserModel that will hold recyclerview data. What the data that we are going to display in our recyclerview is the first name, last name, and phone number. So I'm going to have private string first name. I'm also going to have private string last name. I'm going to have private string user phone. Create getters and setters for this one. So generate, right click, then generate getters and setters, all of them, Control A, and also create a constructor. Right click, generate constructor, select all, Control A. Then after finishing to create a user model, remember we need a layout that is going to display our data. So I'm going to have to create a new layout, and within the layout I'm going to call it low users. So I'm going to give the constraint 10, and that is padding of 10. And then since our layout will be exactly like this, we need a rounded background. We need this text view, and we need this one. So to begin with, let's create our background, that is loud background. Right click on drawable, then select drawable resource file and call it loud bg, loud background. Then change selector to shape, then have your solid color, and the color that I'm going to give here will be let's see, the color that I used for my previous video, that is hash, and the radius that I'm going to give it is 90. So remember, I need a color and a background that matches our demo application, as you can see. So back to my low users. So I'm going to have relative layout, and I'm going to give it a 14 as the width, and the height I'm going to give it 14. Just close this one, give it a start of parent. Remember, we are using constraint layout, that's why I'm giving it start of parent, and then I'm going to give it top of parent. And then this one I'm going to say lab content. For the background color, I'm going to give the background that we have just created, that is loud BG. Inside it, create a text view, lab content, give it a text. We can say LT. The ID I'm going to give it is TV prefix. I'm going to center it, so center in parent, and I'm going to give it true. The color, I'm going to give it white, and the style, I'm going to give it bold. Then I'm going to have below it, let's give this one an ID, and the ID I'm going to have is relative layout, and I'm going to call it image. Remember, we also need to create this ID text and this one. So I'm going to have, text view. So I'm going to have text view, and I'm going to lab content. I'm going to start end of RL image, and I'm going to give it top of parent, and I'm going to give it a text, that is, it's going to carry username. Style, I'm going to give it bold. Size, I'm going to give it 12, and color, I'm going to give it black. Below it, I'm going to create another one, so I can just copy this one and paste it here. This one, I'll give it ID TV username. This one, I'm going to give it an ID TV phone number. So this one should be bottom of parent, and then it's top. I'm going to align it top to be bottom of TV username. Remember, this one I can give it a bottom to be on top of TV phone number. This one I just don't need to be bold. So as you can see, we have the size should be smaller, so I'm going to give it a size instead of 12, I'm going to give it 10. Then I'm going to give this one a start margin of 10, and this one also I'm going to give it a start margin of 10. So that's all we need to create our layout. So the other item that we need is to create our adapter. So create a Java class, in this case call it user adapter, and what you are going to do is to extend recyclerview dot adapter. Inside it, I'm going to have user adapter, and I'm going to create an inner class called user adapter viewholder. So create here public class, should be static class user adapter viewholder. Then implement methods here, control shift all, option enter if you are using Mac, and then select all the methods and click enter. You can remove these ones, don't need these ones, also I don't need these ones. Then for this one, I'm going to extend recyclerview viewholder, and then right click it again and create a constructor. This one is failing to import correctly, but you can just remove it manually. So the other thing I'm going to do is to create a constructor for this class. So I'm going to have public a user adapter user, and then there is some data that we need, so I'm going to have public user list of user model, and then I'm going to have user model list, which is a new array list. I'm also going to need public context, and finally I'm going to have to insert the parameters here. That is, I need to pass a list of user model, and I'm going to have this dot user model list is equal to user model. Remember, we can also pass context here, and I'm also going to have this dot context is equal to context. Then within our user adapter view holder, that is on create view holder, just have your view, which will be your layout inflator dot from create a context here. Context is equals to parent dot get context. So I'm going to have from context dot inflate all dot layout dot row users. Remember the row users we created, and then give it parent, and you don't need to attach any root. So return we are going to return user view holder, so new user view holder, and then give it the view. Then inside the get item count, just return the list size, and then on byte view holder, we can leave that one for a moment. Just go to user adapter view holder. Within the user adapter view holder, what you are going to have is private text view, and the first text view you have is user name. Remember, you also have private text view, and you have user phone, and also you have the prefix, that is private text view user prefix. Inside on user adapter view holder, have username, find view by id, item view dot find view by id, r dot id dot username, tv username. Then have user prefix, which will be item dot find view by id, r dot id dot tv prefix. And finally we have user phone, give it item view dot find view by id, r dot id dot tv phone number. Now inside your on byte view holder, we are going to have our user model, which is carrying user data, user model, and we are going to get it from the user list dot get the position. Then just now start having string first name, which will be user model dot get first name. Then have string last name, which will be user model dot get last name. And finally have string phone number, user phone, which will be user model dot get phone, and string prefix, which will be first name dot substring the first character, then add last name dot substring, the first character. You can use character height and give it a small space. This one too, you can use character height. Now to show or display, what we are going to have is holder. This holder, which is our user adapter, just give it holder dot user phone dot set text. That is the user phone. Holder dot username dot set text. We have username, user. Okay, for our username we need to have our first name plus our last name. Actually, what I can do, I can have string username, which will be first name plus a space last name. So just give it username, then have holder dot prefix dot set text when we have our prefix. So we are done with our user adapter. So we go back to our main activity. Remember, in our main activity, it's where we have defined our recyclerview. So what we are going to do is we are going to have recyclerview, which is RV users. Inside here, I'm going to have RV users is equals to find view by ID rv users. Then I'm going to have to prepare my recyclerview. Also, we need the data that we are going to prepare. So we need to have user adapter. Then we're going to have user adapter. And finally, we're going to have a list of user model list, which is a new array list. So let's import this one. Remember, the reason we're having this one is so that we can have our data. So I'm going to come here and say public void set data. And what I'm going to do within set data is to have my user model list dot add. So we start adding new user model, and the data that we are having is the first name. So our first name will be Josephine, and the last name will be mother, and the phone, we're just going to give a random. I'm going to duplicate this one and just change the name. And the second one we're going to have is Richard, and we're going to have Richard Lan, and I'm going to change the phone number to 0700123123. I'm also going to have here, and I'm going to have Williams as the last name. Then for number, I'm going to have 0700, just a random number. And I'm going to have 4 of them. I'm going to have Dennis, and the last name for Dennis I'm going to give Martin, and the phone number I'm going just to generate it. That's all. The next item that we need to set, so just copy the set data here. So we are going to have public void, going to prepare recyclerview. So we are going to have a linear layout manager, which will be new linear layout manager, and the context I'm going to give is this. And remember the orientation, it will be linear layout manager dot, I'm going to have vertical, and I'm going to have reversed as first. So I'm going to have our recyclerview dot set linear layout manager. and I'm going to give it linear layout manager. So I'm going to attach this here. Then we're going to prepare public void prepare adapter, and within the prepare adapter I'm going to have user adapter is equals to new user adapter, and within the user adapter I'm supposed to pass user rest and context, which is this. Remember, you can just click here and see the data that you're supposed to pass. Then back I'm going to have alv users, which is my recycler view, and I'm going to set adapter user adapter. I'm going to copy this one and paste it here. Or you can just even, okay, let's paste it there. Now let's try and learn our application and see what we have. Remember, this was the demo application, so just close it. So let's see. So the application is installing. So there we are. We have our recycler view, we have the name, and we have the phone number. Like now, if I click, nothing is happening. So the next item that I'm going to show you is how to add on click listener. So back to your adapter, create an interface. So I'm going to have public interface user click listener. And I'm going to have void clicked all selected user, and within it I'm going to pass user model, and within the constructor here I'm going to have public user click listener, and I'm going to pass it here user click listener. So it will be this dot user click listener, and then within my holder here I'm going to have holder dot item view dot set on click listener new view dot click listener, and what I'm going to give is user click listener dot selected user, and I'm going to pass my user model. Go back to your main activity and implement your user adapter dot user click listener. Click option return if you're using Mac, and command enter if you're using Windows to implement the method selected user. So remember, you get this error because you have added another parameter, and just give it this dot selected user. So first we're going to toast just a message to see the selected user. So I'm going to have context as this, and here I'm going to give it selected user plus user model dot get first name, and then I'm going to have toast dot short and dot length short dot show. So let's learn and see. So if I click Josephine, you see selected user Josephine, selected user Richard, selected user Dennis. So we are going to create a new activity here, in the new activity which will be empty. So give it a name. For this case I'm going to give mine selected user. So allow the Gradle to sync. Once the Gradle has finished syncing, some errors will disappear. as you can see. So go to your activity, selected user, and go to spread and have your text view here. Oops, just need this one, and have the text view, lab content, center it. So I'm going to give it top of parent, I'm going to give it a bottom of parent, I'm going to give it a start of parent, and end of parent. That means our text view will be centered. And then I'm going to give it ID, and it will be TV selected user name. I'm going back to activity selected user, so I'm going to have a text view with TV selected username. So it will be find view by ID r.id.tv selected username. So to pass data to this activity, I'll go back here. Instead of toasting, we can comment it now. And now what will happen, you can start activity, and I'm going to have new intent, and I'm moving from this activity to selected user activity dot class, and I'm going to pass data, and the data that I'm going to pass will have key data, and the data itself is UserModel. So back, for me to be able to pass this class, I need to implement serializable. Back to main activity. Now that I'm passing my data to selected user activity, I'm going to have user model, and I'm also going to have intent. So here I'm going to have intent is equals to get intent. I'm going to check if intent is not equal to null. Now get your data. How do you get your data? UserModel is equals to intent, go get serializable extra, and I'm going to have data. Cast it to UserModel, and then we have string username, which will be UserModel.get first name plus UserModel.get last name. I like giving it a small space here. Okay, now we can update our data. TV selected user dot set text, and it will be username. Let's learn our code again. So if I click this one, we have just been mother. If I click this one, so the other item that I'm going to show you guys is how to add search filter. So to add search filter, I'll just go here, create a resource directory, and this one is a menu, and I'm going to have search menu here, search. My menu, I'm going to call it search because I need to add that search. Then I'm going to have item, and I'm going to give it ID. I'm going to give it search view. I'm going to give it title, search view. I'm going to give it an icon. My icon will be Android search menu. Then I'm going to give it the other thing that I'm going to give is icon. I've given it the icon, and I'm going to have show as action, that is always, so that it can show the icon. And then action view class, it is the search view. Remember, we want to implement search view. So that's all we need for our search class. This should be app, not Android. Now go back to your main activity, override two methods here. The first method we are going to override is just click Ctrl O and search for on option menu item selected, and then override another one on create menu options. So this one, just say if get int id, which is item dot get id. So if id equal to al dot id dot search view, just return true. Then on create, what you're going to do is get layout inflator dot inflate al dot menu dot search and give it menu. Layout inflate, get menu inflator, not layout inflator. Here we're inflating menu inflator. Then have menu item, which will be our menu item, menu dot find item al dot id dot search view. Then we are going to proceed and search, have our menu item casted to our search view. So have the search view. Remember, when you're importing this search view, we have two. So select the second one, that is Android X app compact widget. So search view, which is menu item dot get action view. For this one, you are required to cast. So click Control return to see the option. Finally, we are going to have search view dot set max width, and I'm going to have max width as integer dot max width. Finally, now have search view dot set on query text change listener new, and it will be new on query text change listener on query new query search view. All right, so what you're going to do, text submitted, we need this one. This is the text that is being searched using. This is the text that appear when you're searching. So what you do, have your adapter, user adapter dot, or you can have string search string, which is equals to new text. So I'm going to go back to my user adapter and implement filterable. It's going to allow me to generate to implement method, and here I'm going to have filter, because I'm supposed to return filter. So I'm going to have filter is equal to new filter. So this one will return filter. I'm going to add I have duplicated this one, or you can create another one, public list user model, and I'm going to have user model filter, and I'm also going to have new array list. I'm going to copy this one, and within my user adapter, let me bring it top so that it can be the first one. I'm going to add another inside parameter. This dot user filter is also the same as user model. Now the purpose for this one is when you're filtering, so filter results, I'm going to have filter results, which is equals to new filter results. So we are going to have if. Remember, this is the word that is the character which you are trying to filter with, using constraint.equal to null all constraint.length equal to 0, meaning you have not started filtering. We want to have our filter result dot value. It will be our user list filter dot value and I'm going to have filter results dot count, which will be okay, the same plus size. Else I'm going to have, meaning you are trying to filter string search string, and I'm going to have constraint dot to string. Can even put it to lowercase. Then I'm going to have a list of user models, which will be a new array list. Then I'm going to loop for user model. I'm going to loop get user model filter, and if user model dot get first name dot to lowercase dot contain the filtered character that is such string all, copy this one. If last name get last name, all you're trying to filter even with phone number, anything that you want to filter with. So get phone, user phone. If that character is contained either in phone, last name, or first name, we're going to have our user model dot add our user model. Remember, these user models that you're adding user model. And finally, what you're going to do is to have our filter results dot value will be equals to user model, and filter result dot count will be user model dot count dot size. Finally, we are going to return filter results. To finish up, you need to publish the result. So user list will be equals to results dot value. You'll be required to cast this on, so control or option return, and finally notify data set changed. So we needed to do this one for our user adapter. Now go back to your main activity and have user adapter dot get filter dot filter the new text. Learn your project now. So it's now installing. Let's wait. Oops, it didn't install. Try to learn it again. Install, launching. So there we are. When you click, a new activity starts, displays the name. We try to filter Josephine. There we are. Try to filter Michael. There we are. By click, you have Michael. So that's all, guys, we needed to learn in this episode of tutorial. Thank you for watching. If you have any question, if you want clarification, feel free to comment below and I will respond. Remember to be the part of the team if you are not, by subscribing below.